How's it going, everyone? Session here. Good morning, and welcome to the Dead by Daylight developer update for September of 2023. So, spooky season is officially underway, and we're getting in the spirit of a hefty developer update covering everything coming to the game within the next month. This time, we have news to share about new features, killer updates, and various perk and map changes. So, there actually has been quite a bit of a buzz going around through the internet, such as like Twitter, Reddit, and that sort of thing, where they essentially introduced a new anti-face camping method, so that way like killers are no longer camping people that are on hooks. Essentially, is the idea. I think there's a lot of conversation about a rework coming in for the Skull Merchant, which I think people are really excited about because that killer has been apparently running rampant and not really the most fun experience. And I think there's also something about some tweaks for some killers that are happening. Like I think the Trapper is on there somewhere. So let's find out what there is. Anti-face camping. You probably don't want to find yourself on the hook in the first place, but it can quickly become frustrating if the killer tries to wait nearby, preventing all but the most coordinated of teams from rescuing you. Camping has long been a contentious topic. While there are times that camping is the smart thing for the killer to do, if there are people nearby, for example, there's not much the survivor being camped can do. To help in most extreme cases, we are introducing a new feature which may give you a second chance. Going forward, you'll notice a new meter appear whenever you are on the hook. This meter will gradually fill whenever the killer is near you. And the closer the killer is, the faster the meter will build. Once it is full, you'll gain the ability to unhook yourself with a 100% chance of success, even during the second hook phase. Unhooking yourself in this way will grant you all the usual benefits, such as endurance and haste. Okay, even the second hook is a very interesting one. To ensure that this cannot be abused by aggressive survivors, the rate at which the meter fills will decrease or potentially even stop entirely when the other survivors are nearby. Additionally, once the exit gates are powered, this feature is disabled entirely. This is because at this point in the match, the killer needs to do whatever they can to secure one last kill, so we can't expect them to graciously leave the hook. Okay, I mean, interesting. This new mechanic is intended to address the most egregious camping scenarios, discouraging killers from standing too close to a hook survivor for an extended period and creating opportunities for the other killers or survivors to make the save. So I like this. This is cool. Because I think honestly what's going on too is that there is a lot of people who are being put on a hook, and there's, I think, a growing issue where people who do get hooked in the first place, like in this case scenario, the Jane, there's 3 people working on a generator, 1 hasn't been completed, Jane's on the first hook, and the killer's just sitting here. In this case scenario where the Trapper's watching her and this meter's filling and it would be full for them to escape, I think in that case scenario though, that the killer would still be sitting here waiting for the person to get unhooked, even if it's by themselves. So I don't know how much of this it will address the anti-camping, because I think right now it doesn't say anti-tunneling as well. You know what I mean? So I think that it's going to actually cover one part, but it doesn't cover both parts, because tunneling and camping, granted, to a degree, it is a technique. I don't think that was the intentional feature, but I think more so it's frustrating for survivor players, and I can attest to that. So hopefully this will be something that people are really grateful for now existing as a concept in the game. That would be cool. But I'm not too sure about how well this will be effective once it actually kicks into full gear, but we'll see though. I don't want to like shoot it down if it hasn't even started yet. So mechanically we have to see it put into place and really get the sense of how does it work. So we'll find out. But W for them to add some kind of anti-camping technique for the survivor side. The Skull Merchant. It's been a while since the sound of drones that first filled the entity's realm. Since then, the Skull Merchant's eyes in the sky have largely been used as eyes on the generators, leading to some very long matches. It's very true. In this update, we are overhauling the Skull Merchant's drones to reduce their effectiveness in defending generators while improving their strength in a chase. Lock-on. Active zones, being the main culprit behind Skull Merchant's ability to defend generators, are no more. Okay. On top of making survivors exposed, these zones provide Skull Merchant with too much information on survivors within them. allowing the killer to quickly react and chase them away. With zones removed, the skull merchant's drones need a new way to lock onto survivors. Now, whenever a survivor is scanned by a drone's beams, they will receive 1 stack of lock on. Upon reaching 3 stacks, the survivor will immediately receive a claw trap. However, avoiding a drone's scanners won't be easy thanks to the introduction of 2 new modes. Okay. Eyes in the Sky will now have 2 modes, Stealth and Scouting. In Stealth mode, the drone's spinning beams will be invisible, and the drone will be much quieter. Interesting. Survivors will want to watch closely for the lights on the drone itself to tell where the beams are so they can sneak up and disable it. In Scouting mode, the drone's scan lines will be visible and rotate much faster, making them more difficult to approach or run by undetected. In either mode, the drone's scan lines will not detect the survivor who is stationary. Interesting. Effectively preventing them from being used to guard generators. A survivor can interact with the drone in either state to disable it for 45 seconds, after which they will return to stealth mode. Okay, because I think that was the biggest pain point, is that there's no reason to go into an area where the drone is, just because like it's very dangerous, since the killer did get so much information. So now that it's actually working so that you have to be stationary, it's nice though, because now you can actually be stealthy and avoid her to a degree, because she's very dangerous and very deadly if there's a drone anywhere. Plus, on top of that, there was a way where, like, you know, if you 3-gen yourself, like if there were 3 generators on one side of the map, all of her drones can cover all 3 gens, and it's impossible to escape from. And just by that concept alone, she automatically like wins the match. So, you know, what should be like a 10 to 15 minute match ended up turning into like 45 minutes, literally, and hopefully this change will also incorporate a little bit of a pickup pace, and also even more so to give survivors a better chance of being able to, you know, move on from that situation. The claw traps. Survivors who end up with a claw trap will find themselves on the receiving end of the following effects. If they are healthy, they will be instantly injured. Okay. If they are injured, they get deep wounds. This will not grant the survivor speed boost. The survivor suffers from broken stats effect. Ooh, okay. I'm reading this too fast and I didn't think about it, but like I read it. So the survivor will get the broken stats effect until the trap is removed, and then their location will be revealed on the killer's scanner for a short duration. Additionally, survivors with a claw trap who are scanned by one of the killer's drones receive a 10% movement speed penalty for 6 seconds. Oh, okay. And then they're revealed to the killer with killer instinct on their location for 3 seconds. Oh, okay. Huh. The claw trap's battery will expire and the trap will be removed automatically after 45 seconds. Because I think right now, right, isn't there no way to get rid of the trap unless you like vault over something? And on top of that, because right now if you break the trap, you get the claw trap. And then I think she always has insight as to where you are, like the entire time. I think so. So this rework is very interesting. We've also made many adjustments across the many aspects of Skull Merchant to improve the way it feels to play as and against her. The Skull Merchant now has 6 drones. It was 4. That's weird. The Skull Merchant will now immediately become undetectable for 8 seconds after deploying a drone. Okay, so it's not while she's inside the zone, because the zone is gone now. The minimum distance between the drones is now 16 meters. It was 22. So then they're adding more drones, and it's covering more ground in terms of the distance that they can be between. Interesting. The killer's movement speed is no longer decreased when checking the scanner. Okay. Lock-on progress no longer decays. Oh, that I don't like. Drones can only be manually reactivated. Okay. Drones can be placed above or below other drones deployed on different floors. Okay. It's not bad. Failing to hack a drone will now grant 1 second of lock-on instead of instantly locking on. Not too bad. Skull Merchant's footsteps are now quieter, making her harder to track behind walls. I don't like that. They updated the Skull Merchant's chase music, and they reviewed the add-ons, adjusting some things and giving some new effects to others. Combined, these changes push the Skull Merchant's drones in a more chase-oriented direction, giving them more immediate consequences when they are triggered rather than slowly building over time. At the same time, her ability to defend generators for excessive lengths of time has also been reduced substantially. We will be keeping a close eye on these changes and making further adjustments as needed. So I think what they're basically trying to say is that they reworked her in a way that you use the drones to chase around, but at the same time, the way how the merchant works now, it seems to me, is that they're turning her a little bit into more of a stealth killer, which I think was the intention the entire time, but it was just not executed the way that people were ready for. So here's what I think that the devs created the skull merchant in a way to make her stealthy, but at the same time, people figured out a more broken way to use her and implement her drones and then the generator situation and all that stuff. And so the devs were like, this is fine, until people were, rampaging about how bad it was, and then people were like, well, this is not fine. Then they, devs were like, well, maybe it's not fine. So now they're doing the rework. So I think like I think the biggest win for her on the survivor side is that the stealth mode is much more incorporated, and also you don't get detected when you're stationary. So that means that if you are able to, actually approach a drone, and if you're able to avoid the beams and you're not moving, then you can actually effectively go against her and then it'll work. So you'll be able to actually be stealthy and work on things, but I still don't think that it's going to stop her from being able to get she'll get the jump on you, which will be nice actually, because that stealth is more incorporated. But I think the other problem though too is that, she still has the ability to see the generator auras. So despite this change, you're still gonna need, because right now, if let's say for example there's a generator and then there's a drone, and you sneak to the drone or sneak past the drone to get to the generator and you work on the generator, there's still this information that comes from just the generator itself that lets the killer know that there's a person working on that generator. And then if in that case in point the killer is on you, then you have to run away, and then which in doing so the drone will pick that up, and then you'll get that whole thing. So there's no real easy way to sneak in without also being able to sneak out. There's only a sneak in and there's no sneak out, which is a little, it's weird, but we'll see. We'll find out more. Hopefully the skull merchant is a good change and people are looking forward to it, or they find another way to break her again and it gets worse. So we'll see. All right, Shattered Square. Okay. This update will feature a gameplay update to the Shattered Square map. While reviewing feedback for this map, we identified a few points of feedback we wanted to address. Low obstacles. It was possible to bump into some small objects such as piles of hay or carcasses. Since these obstacles were so small, it was possible that you could bump into them without even seeing them, leading to some frustrating moments. We have done a pass on some of these sort of objects to ensure that anything which might block your path is clearly visible, in most cases making them taller so they're easier to see. Okay, I did not run into that problem, I'm not gonna lie, but okay. The Shattered Square is among the largest maps in the game, and contrary to its name, it isn't even a square, it's actually a rectangle. The size of this map can make patrolling a little difficult. To help with this, we have reduced the size of the map, turning it into a proper square in the process. Okay. The positions of some tiles have been readjusted as a result. The line of sight. Most obstacles in the map tended to be fairly low, making it quite easy for killers to spot survivors at long ranges and difficult for stealthy killers to sneak up on survivors. To break up these long sight lines, we have rearranged some tiles to limit how far you're able to see from any given point. Okay. And then the navigation. Last but not least, we've made various changes to make the map easier to navigate. This includes making it clearer which objects can be walked on and which will block your path. Okay, so here's the thing. Right now, there is this constantly growing, I want to call it a growing pain because I think that it's actually something that needs to be addressed, where maps are getting changed to be smaller, and overall that's making it much more difficult from a gameplay perspective to actually escape as a survivor. So maps that are small just really don't seem like fun in some case scenarios. Like Shadow Square was an okay map because it was a big map, but that's also because it was a survivor's advantage for being a big map because you have all that ground to cover. But the thing is, like, there's a lot of killers that are able to move around very quickly across the map, and so, and also on top of that, you can see across the map. So yeah, like, stealth killers had a harder time, you know, navigating just going through the middle, and that was a problem for them. But like, that wasn't really like too big of an issue. But right now there is this thing where maps are getting smaller and smaller, and that's just making it way easier for the killer. So like, there was a conversation that I had with somebody where we basically talked about how maps shouldn't be getting reworked to be smaller. There should just be offerings to like lean the map in either the killer or survivor's favor, and you know, have it be like a one offering use. So like, kind of similar to a map offering. So you know, if you put some offering that increases the survivor's advantage, then it would make the map actually wider, or there would be more pallets, or less hooks, you know, something like that, or even, or you know, not more chests, but you know, something of the nature. And then for the killer side, the map could be smaller, or they remove some pallets, or they add some hooks. You know, having an offering to give an advantage to one side or the other would be better than just reworking the entire map, because some of the maps that they've created over the course of the years of this game being out have been actually very good, but because they were reworked entirely, rather than keeping them in the game, they're just removed completely, and then you end up missing out on that experience. So fingers crossed that this version of the map is good, because I'm a little concerned that they made the map smaller just to like give the killer an advantage now that it's not like a rectangle. So we'll find out. The Macmillan Estate. Our work on the maps doesn't stop there. The entire Macmillan Estate realm is being expanded. Each map in this realm has received a second alternate version. What does this mean? The next time you load into Suffocation Pit, for example, things might be a little different. The trademark mine shaft will still be there, but it may be in a different spot. The shape and layout of the map might also be slightly different. The goal with these variants is to add more variety to existing maps without changing the unique properties that set them apart, such as their size, a bottleneck or choke point that separates either side of the map, and so on. Okay, so they basically reorganize how Macmillan maps are, because usually I usually call it the north side where the mine is, and then the south side is where like that one little hill is where the kill shack is, and then there is that choke point where there is like it kind of looks like an hourglass almost. It's like, it literally, like, you got like the rock, killer shack, and then you have like that weird little spot, and then it's like the wall that you can kind of like shimmy around, and then there's like the little forest and the mine shaft. So if the mine shaft actually appears on the south side of the map, that'd be really cool. So we'll see what this variety looks like as well. Perks. Next, we have a few small tweaks to a handful of perks. Furtive Chase is one of the lesser used killer perks, providing a way to switch these sessions throughout the match to reduce your tear radius during a chase. Yep. To give this perk a slight boost, we are increasing the tear radius reduction for each token to 5 meters, as it was 4 meters, to a maximum of 20. Okay. So it was 16, now it's 20. So, I mean, the thing is, like, I feel like a tear radius during a chase is, I don't know, it's just a little weird. I feel like that just doesn't really make sense to me, but I'm not gonna, I don't know, we'll see. This is interesting. I mean, I see people running this perk all the time anyways, so for them to boost it up is actually pretty interesting. Background Player. This perk allows you to sprint very quickly when the killer picks up another survivor, creating an opportunity to get into position for a save. Not only is this perk highly situational, but it leaves you exhausted, which could hinder you if you are chased shortly after. To make sure this perk is meaningful when it activates, we are increasing the duration of the speed boost to 5 seconds from 4. Okay. I don't see this perk ever get used anyways, so hopefully it does get used now. Killer tweaks. To cap things off, we also have a short list of adjustments for a few different killers. As usual, these smaller scale tweaks that we manage to squeeze into various updates. The Trapper. The Trapper fills a very unique role in DBD. Since he is all over the cover and is unlocked right away, he ends up being a lot of people's first experience playing as killer. Because of this, we try to keep him as simple and straightforward as possible. See a trap, set a trap. Among newer players, Trapper already performs very well, and we don't throw it off that balance too much. That said, in higher end matches, the Trapper can struggle to keep up. To assist in those cases, we've made a few changes. He can have 8 bear traps spawn on the map instead of 6. Wow. And then the Trapper receives a 7.5 haste effect after setting a bear trap. Wow, that's kind of a huge. That's like a giga buff almost. Because as much as it was a as much as it was a pain point for him to have traps in the map, like he already like sets map uh stoppers, right? So like putting the trap down literally requires you to like move away from somewhere. But I think the problem now is that he has the ability now to catch up to you after setting a bear trap, and I don't think I like that. Because every killer already has like a native way of running and catching up to you regardless. So this haste effect thing, the fact that this exists is pretty crazy. Also, there's that new alien perk where I think you don't have like a bloodlust chase, but you can get like a permanent haste buff. That combined with this that's a really strong change to be giving. So wow, we'll see. We expect these changes to have a minimum impact in lower skill matches where the trapper is already performing well, but provide a nice boost to higher end players who know how to take advantage of them. Additional bear traps will help ensure that you have an adequate supply, particularly on larger maps, and the added haste effect can help close the gap in case survivors catch on and begin running away while you set them. So I think this is also what I'm talking about, because this is also a way to address the shattered square changes, but they also made the map smaller and they have the more traps for the killer. So again, like this is once again leaning in this favor of giving, I think the killer, I think the trapper in particular doesn't have a high like kill rate percentage. I think it's probably like in the lower 50s or maybe like high 40s, like 49 to 53% of them being able to catch a person. But I think that includes like the entire player base. So right now trapper having this buff is like, they're saying it's minimal impact for lower skill, but I think that they literally giga buffed trapper in the higher end. So as somebody who's people who spent like thousands of hours playing this game, and anybody who didn't like trapper before, they're going to love trapper now, because getting 2 more traps is already a lot, especially when you think about the iridescent add-on where you can reset them automatically without going to them. That's a huge change, because that's base kit. And then same thing with getting a speed boost after setting a bear trap. This killer got buffed like crazy, so we'll see. Huntress and Trickster. For both these killers, reloading your projectiles and a locker is a must. However, doing so gives fighters a big head start to run away and gain some distance. For this reason, many Huntress and Trickster players will run add-ons and perks like Iron Maiden to reduce their reload time. To improve the quality of life and reduce the reliance of these perks and add-ons, they reduce the reload time for each killer to 3 seconds as it was 4. Okay. That's... I mean, I think now they've made it so that the reload speed is now 2 seconds, because people are going to still run Iron Maiden and get this buff. So, and already, Huntress was already a very, very powerful killer. Trickster also was, but kind of walked in the shadow of Huntress. But I think that people underestimate this killer like a lot. So Trickster is definitely going to be running rampant as well, just because that change alone, like, it's gonna be it's a lot worse for Trickster to chase versus Huntress, because Huntress has to actually aim and like throw them, right? Whereas with Trickster, there's no real loss of reward for throwing the knives. So we'll see. Deathslinger. Speaking of reloads, Deathslinger will also find himself reloading very frequently. Because of this, add-ons which reduce his reload time see a lot of use. To make the add-ons less essential, we have taken part of the effect of the Warden Key add-ons and incorporated it into the base kit and adjusted this add-on accordingly. So Deathslinger now reloads in 2.6 seconds by default. It was 2.75. Okay, small change. Second, we increased the movement speed bonuses while aiming them the sights for both the Jaw Smasher and Wanted Poster add-ons to 1.5 and 3% respectively, to make them more interesting choices to consider. Okay. It's not bad. Deathslinger is fine. Lastly, we have adjusted the Legion's BFS add-on. This granted a 4% movement speed when the gates were powered, so long as the killer managed to land enough feral frenzy strikes during the match. Since the effect is needed to be earned and is only active during the end of the match, we are increasing the movement speed to 6% to become more impactful. Okay. I mean, that's not bad either. The biggest changes, of course, with this considering is going to be Huntress and Trickster combining it big build-wise. The Trapper Giga buff is insane. Changes to Macmillan is gonna be kind of cool because at least the random variants to it would be really cool. The Shattered Square change is gonna be fascinating. I think personally, because here's what I'll say: as big as this map is, escaping from this map is actually very difficult. Weirdly enough, despite the size, because the killer's visual, tracking is so easily like just workable for them since they can just see you across the map. So hopefully the changes, granted the map is smaller, it does make it a little bit easier for survivors to have an easier time trying to escape versus just always being seen no matter how far away you are. Additionally, the Skull Merchant rework will be very fascinating. We'll see how it plays out. I'm really hoping that it's not going to be a situation where, because 6 drones is more than 4, and so if there is a way for there to be 6 drones in 3 gens and they cover more ground, that's going to be a real pain. But hopefully that stealth incorporation really does add some kind of value, because again, there's still this ability for the generators to be seen aura-wise by the killer. So that might have actually been a really big buff instead of it being like a nerf, because more is always better, you know. And then lastly, the anti-camping method with the hook is interesting. We'll see how it plays out. I don't really know what to expect though. I also understand that they basically say that, like, you know, it's disabled when the doors are open, which again reduces that necessity of people wanting to like specifically wait until the doors are powered, right? So opening the doors now is more critical than ever, especially when it's person on the hook. But it does get worse when the door is open and then when someone does get caught, because that situation happens very frequently, right? So we'll see. Anyways, all in all, very interesting update. I'm curious to see what people are going to be saying and thinking about, and I'll definitely keep my eye out there, because I think there's a lot of other things that are being covered ground-wise for the game, and so I'm also in that same situation, like conversationally. So hopefully we'll find out something that comes into place, and then we can actually be more curious and excited for the changes to come. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you think, and take care.